Some men are remembered for their crowns, others for their courage. Imam Abu Hanifa was remembered for both his brilliance and his refusal to bow before power. He grew up not in a palace, but in a modest home. Not as a prince, but as a merchant's son. Yet his mind and integrity would make him greater than kings. Stand firm for justice, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or your relatives. Qur'an chapter 4, verse 135. Abu Hanifa was born in 699 in Kufa, Iraq, at a time when the Muslim world was vast and restless. Kufa was a city of markets and mosques, scholars and soldiers, merchants and mystics. His family was Persian in origin, respected but not wealthy. His father was a silk merchant, and young Abu Hanifa spent much of his childhood in the busy stalls of the marketplace, learning honesty and discipline in trade. Yet his heart was drawn elsewhere. While his peers chased profit, Abu Hanifa found himself drawn to the scholars who debated in the mosques and study circles. Their words carried weight. Their questions opened doors to worlds beyond trade. By his teenage years, his brilliance was impossible to ignore. He could memorize entire texts with ease, reason through complex arguments, and spot contradictions that left older men speechless. His early teachers encouraged him to devote himself fully to learning. And so he did. He studied scripture, law, theology, and philosophy. Kufa was a unique place for such a pursuit. It was a city rich with traditions, where companions of the Prophet had once lived, and where diverse schools of thought collided. Abu Hanifa absorbed them all, but he was not content to simply memorize. He wanted to understand, to reason, to test. This method became his hallmark. While others clung blindly to tradition, Abu Hanifa used both scripture and reason, insisting that faith was not only about remembering words, but about applying them with wisdom. When asked a question of law, he did not rush to answer. He would sit with his students, discuss possibilities, weigh evidence, and only then offer a ruling. His circle became a school, a place where students learned not just answers, but how to think. His reputation spread quickly. By his 30s, he was already recognized as one of the brightest minds of his time. Merchants came to him for rulings, scholars debated with him, and ordinary people trusted him to settle disputes. He was precise, cautious, and above all, fair. He did not seek fame, but fame found him. His humility matched his brilliance. Abu Hanifa never claimed certainty for himself. "This is my opinion," he would often say, "and it is the best I can reach. If someone brings a better opinion, I will accept it." To his students, this humility was revolutionary. To rulers, it was dangerous. For here was a man whose authority came not from politics but from knowledge, not from wealth but from integrity. Baghdad, the new capital of the Abbasid Empire, soon heard of him. His fame reached the ears of rulers who wanted to harness it. To them, a scholar of such influence could legitimize their power, lend holiness to their authority. To Abu Hanifa, however, such offers carried poison. A scholar's duty was to God and truth, not to kings and thrones. The scholar who once sat quietly in study circles was now being watched by the most powerful rulers of his age. His rise was not only a story of brilliance, but of a destiny that would pit him against the throne itself. For while Abu Hanifa sought truth, the rulers sought control. And when truth and power collide, only one can remain unbent. Power is always restless in the presence of truth. Scholars who serve the throne are rewarded with gold and titles, but scholars who stand against it are feared. Imam Abu Hanifa was the second kind. His knowledge had made him the most respected jurist of his age. His school of thought already shaping courts and communities. Yet his refusal to bend before rulers brought him face to face with trials that tested his courage more than any debate ever could. Do not sell my guidance for a small price. Qur'an, chapter 2, verse 41. At first, The pressure came from the Umayyads, who still held power before the Abbasid dynasty rose. They sought to use Abu Hanifa's name to strengthen their rule, for the people trusted him more than they trusted governors. Offers were made: positions of judge, stipends of gold, seats in the courts of power. Abu Hanifa declined them all. To him, justice was not for sale. If he were to accept such posts, he feared his rulings would be twisted to serve kings instead of truth. His refusals angered the rulers. They could not understand how a man would turn down wealth and honor. To Abu Hanifa, however, it was simple. A judge who serves for gold serves himself, not God, he told his students. If I wished for the world, I would have found it at my doorstep. But I seek only what will benefit me when I am lowered into the grave. When the Umayyad dynasty fell and the Abbasids rose, many thought things would change. But the Abbasids were no different. They too wanted Abu Hanifa. His reputation had grown so vast that his acceptance of a position under them would give their rule legitimacy. So they offered him the position of chief judge, the highest legal authority in the empire. The offer was more than an honor, it was a command. Abu Hanifa refused again. Calmly, firmly, and with words sharper than any sword, he told the caliph, "If I am fit for this post, then I am unfit because I refuse your command. And if I am unfit, then why appoint me?" His defiance spread through Baghdad like wildfire. The people admired him more, but the ruler's anger grew. The caliph, humiliated, ordered him imprisoned. The scholar who had taught thousands in open circles was now confined within walls. Yet even in chains, Abu Hanifa did not break. Students visited him, and he continued to teach from his cell. Guards overheard his lessons and were moved. Prisoners found comfort in his words. The dungeon became a classroom. The chains became proof of his integrity. The rulers did not stop at imprisonment. They beat him, hoping pain would change his mind. They offered him release if he accepted their post, hoping fear would bend his will. But each time he refused. His body weakened, but his spirit grew stronger. He had always taught that faith requires sacrifice. Now he lived that sacrifice with every breath. Rumors spread that he had been poisoned. Others said the years of hardship finally wore him down. What all agreed on was that his death in 767 was the result of persecution, not peace. The scholar who refused the throne paid with his life for his integrity. But even in death, he triumphed. When word spread through Baghdad, the city erupted in grief. Tens of thousands attended his funeral. The prayer for him was repeated many times because the crowds could not all gather in one place at once. For days the city wept. Rich and poor, merchants and rulers, scholars and beggars all mourned him together. He had refused the throne, but in death he ruled over hearts. His trials became his crown. His prison became his palace. His chains became his legacy. For centuries after, when people remembered Abu Hanifa, they did not recall his wealth or status, for he had none. They remembered his courage. The courage to say no when the world expected him to say yes. The courage to die standing for justice rather than lives serving tyranny. Some men leave behind palaces and monuments. Imam Abu Hanifa left behind principles, and those principles became stronger than stone. He lived a life of courage, and when he passed, his legacy spread farther than the empires that tried to silence him. To this day, his name stands not for crowns, but for integrity. God does not allow the reward of the righteous to be lost. Qur'an chapter 11 verse 115. When Abu Hanifa died in 767, Baghdad was shaken. The scholar who had refused the throne, who had endured prison and beatings rather than sell his conscience, was gone. Yet in death, he was more powerful than ever. His funeral became one of the largest the city had ever witnessed. Crowds poured into the streets in numbers too great to count. The funeral prayer had to be repeated again and again. because each time another wave of mourners arrived. Merchants, scholars, governors, laborers, beggars, all came. They stood side by side, united by grief for a man who had spoken truth without fear, who had taught without arrogance, and who had given the world a school of thought that balanced reason with faith. His refusal to serve kings had made him a king of hearts. But Abu Hanifa's legacy was not only in his defiance, it was in his knowledge. The Hanafi school of law, built from his reasoning, his rulings, and his students' work, spread across the world. It reached Iraq, Persia, Central Asia, India, Turkey, and beyond. Today, centuries later, it remains the most widely followed school of Islamic law, practiced by millions. It is studied not because of political power, but because of its clarity, its practicality, and its balance between text and reason. He taught his students to use their minds as well as their hearts. "This is my opinion," he would say, "and it is the best I can reach. If you find something better, follow it." With these words, he gave them freedom. Freedom to think, to reason, to question. His humility was his strength. Unlike rulers who demanded obedience, Abu Hanifa demanded sincerity. His teachings shaped more than law. They shaped character. He reminded people that knowledge without justice is hypocrisy, and justice without courage is impossible. He warned scholars not to sell themselves for gold or titles. He urged rulers to remember that crowns are temporary, but accountability is eternal. He taught the poor that honesty is wealth greater than coins, and he showed the powerful that truth cannot be purchased. The story of his refusal to accept the post of chief judge became legend. Generations retold it to remind themselves that scholars must serve truth, not thrones. Parents told their children that Abu Hanifa chose prison over corruption. Teachers reminded their students that the scholar who founded the largest school of law in the Muslim world once sat in chains because he would not betray justice. His story became a shield for scholars after him, a light in times when rulers sought to silence truth. Centuries passed. Dynasties rose and fell, but Abu Hanifa's influence only grew. His books were studied in mosques and universities. His principles were carried by jurists and judges. His name was invoked whenever integrity was threatened. And though he had died in chains, his school became freer and wider than any kingdom. His legacy also carried a warning. Power is fleeting. The rulers who imprisoned him are remembered only in passing, their names shadows in history. Abu Hanifa, the man they tried to silence, is remembered by millions every day. His refusal to accept wealth or power gave him something greater: immortality of influence. In Baghdad, his resting place became a site of remembrance, visited by those who sought inspiration. Scholars prayed there for strength, rulers prayed there for humility, and ordinary people prayed there for guidance. His grave did not hold a defeated man. It held a victor who proved that truth outlasts tyranny. Imam Abu Hanifa remains a symbol of integrity, courage, and humility. He showed that the true throne is not made of gold, but of principle, and that the scholar's duty is not to flatter kings, but to guide people. His life was a struggle, his death a sacrifice, and his legacy a light that continues to shine. And so his story is told: a merchant's son who became a scholar who became a leader, and a leader who refused the throne. Imam Abu Hanifa chose chains over compromise, silence over falsehood, and death over dishonor. And in doing so, he became greater than any ruler of his time.